Hey you guys, so I have seen a really fun tag going along, which is the Tarot Village. It Takes a Village 2022. I believe the first person to start the tag was Boho Tarot, but I seen it from Carla at Carla Astrology. So shout out to both, and let's just add a little ambiance here. I am burning some of my most favorite incense from the Empress and the Hierophant on Etsy. Today the moon is in Virgo, so we will burn a little earth. Oh, it smells so good. So I believe that Boho Tarot's was originally 9, but then she said to go ahead and add any extra prompts. So Carla was talking about how every village needs a like a joker or like a jester, which I totally believe and agree. And so we're going to do that as the 10th is the comedian. And then I went ahead and I think I'm going to add in a black sheep category because I think every village and family needs a black sheep. And so, yeah, hopefully I'm organized enough. My desk is full of decks and books. Most of these decks I have chosen not only for the prompts, but because of the book. So I don't really read for myself very often. Excuse me. So I more study certain decks. For reading, I typically just use a standard RWS. This is the Centennial. I do work on different psychic apps and hotlines. I do a lot of readings for others, and not as many for myself. So when I dig into tarot, it's more for studying. So I'm going to be talking a lot about the books and why I chose the decks based off of their guidebooks. So the number 1 prompt was your guide deck, which is like your go-to when you need answers. You know, what do you go to? And dogs are going crazy. For me, I chose the Tarot of the Spirit. It's been around for a while. This is the older version, but I believe you can still get a newer version of it. So this is by Joyce Eakins and Pamela Eakins. So I just really love this deck. It was one of the first decks that really spoke to me after I learned to read with an RWS, and I was interested in kind of wanting to learn the Thoth system, but Thoth is, next level. I felt like this is kind of like a happy medium. What I like about it is that it also shows astrological associations, which, RWS doesn't. It also does give some keywords, which when I was, really first diving into tarot, I was transitioning from using Oracle to Tarot. So I thought this was a good transition deck from Oracle to Tarot because of those keywords. I don't know. It was a really powerful deck the first time I seen it, which I cannot remember when I ever seen it. And it was not like anything I had ever seen before. And it spoke to me. And then when I found out the books that go with it, which are the regular Tarot of the Spirit guidebook, but then there's also another, which is the Kabbalah and the Tarot of the Spirit. And I am on a path of learning about, Kabbalah and that type sort of mysticism. So these books are amazing. So as far as like for me, when I'm going to sit down and dive into something for my own guide, I'm really looking for that, deep dive. And I've got a couple other decks I could have chosen, like for sure Benabel Wynn's Spirit Keepers, and I've got all of her Book of Maps, but this system right here for me, and I'll be honest, like I haven't gone down as deep with this as I have some other ones I'm going to talk about. But this is one that I know is part of my journey. I just, like, how you're going to be doing it and you kind of dabble, but you don't go like all the way in because it's just not the right timing. That's this. But it's still like my go-to. And I know that I'm only at the very beginning of the journey with this deck and this system. So, yeah. Just give you a quick little look at that beautiful Queen of Pentacles, or Mother of Earth, Father of Wind, or King of Swords. I just loved this deck and still do. So this is going to be, I know that it is one of my guides. It's got messages and wisdom for me. And I have dipped my toes in, but I haven't gone all the way in because there's some other ones we're going to talk about that I have gone a little bit deeper with, but definitely love that. Number 2, the Caregiver, which this one is a newer deck, but because I don't want to choose the same decks for everything, and I wanted to choose some different ones that I thought a lot of people hadn't maybe seen, because I easily could have definitely chosen the Light Seekers for this. Or Light Seers, sorry. So this came out, was launched this year. I got this off of the Kickstarter, the Unfolding Path Tarot. So this one isn't one that was chosen for one of the big juicy guidebooks, but it gives me very much Light Seer vibes. So here is just kind of a fold out type of a guidebook. But the cards themselves are just so beautiful and nurturing. So like when I think Caregiver, I think like I need something that's going to go really gentle with me. So here's the back of the cards. The cardstock is kind of a little bit on the thinner side, I'll be honest. Look at that Chariot. It's not in order, obviously. Oh, love that. I just think it's such a good deck. Really excited to be working with this. I think I've had it for about 2 months. I love that the wands have the crystals. I do think I don't know, it kind of makes me a little uncomfortable, kind of how similar it is to the Light Seers. But as a consumer, I'm okay with that. If I were Chris Ann, I don't know, I might be a little bit uncomfortable. I think there's just a lot of the art is very similar to Chris Ann's Light Seers deck. But like as a reader and a consumer, maybe that's why there's just something that makes me at home. It's kind of getting a little bit like Post Malone when he's like 50. I don't know. So yeah, we won't go through everything, but oh, look at that. Empress. So if you need like a really just nurturing deck and you're kind of like a little bit, not that you're over the Light Seers, but you've just overused it and you're just looking for maybe something a little bit fresh, I think this gives, you know, a lot of that same energy. And so I chose that. Then number 3 is the Muse Tarot. And that for me was the Cosmic Seed. This is another one I did not necessarily choose because of the guidebook, but I did an interview with the author and she was just so lovely. And she introduced me to a book that has really been changing my life, although I can't remember the name of it. It's an audiobook that I'm listening to, and I've got my phone filming this video, so I can't look it up. It's like channeled information, kind of like the raw material, but it's not the raw material. But she was just such a cool, like, woman, and I just loved her energy, and I just do love this vibe, and I feel like she's more of a muse for me, like who she is. And her deck as well. So that's why I chose the Tarot of the Cosmic Seed. Again, I have a full unboxing of this on my channel. Maybe I'll link it. But absolutely stunning. She's got her Oracle of Awakening. It was on Kickstarter and should be shipping out within the next couple of months. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. Sorry, a lot of these are upside down. I've used this deck quite a few times. Look at that strength card. The cheetah and the indigenous woman, it kind of reminds me of that movie Apocalypto, which I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite movies. Always love for the Justice card, the feather in the heart, like the Ma'at, kind of, you know, the ode to Ma'at. So I'm actually not usually like into collage art, but this deck is doing it for me. Love the use of the sacred geometry. It's like feminine, but it's not overtly feminine. I feel it's very balanced in feminine and masculine. It's very balanced in shadow and light, or yeah, shadow and light. It's, you know, nice and diverse, culturally, racially, all the ways. So yeah, that is the deck that I chose for my Muse. Deck is Tarot of the Cosmic Seed, and she is on Instagram, Melania Simone. Love the blue gilding as well. Such an amazing deck. So there's my number 3 choice was for the Muse. Number 4 is the Counselor. So this is the one that I went ahead and chose. The Light Seers deck, because not only have I used it to counsel myself, when I use this deck, specifically this version, the indie version, because it comes with a bigger guidebook, which is, I know that the mass market is amazing too, and I have it, but the mass market book is not as good. It's just not. And this guidebook here, I just think she went above and beyond in this. And it never fails that, like, you know, normally when I'm doing a tarot reading for someone else, I rarely, if ever, grab a guidebook. But if I'm using this deck, I will grab the guidebook almost every single time, because it will just hit in ways that whatever I'm channeling doesn't normally. So I'm not going to go through this one as much, because I feel like we all have a pretty good idea of, you know, these cards, but I mostly chose specifically the indie version. I think I've talked about this before, but I did reach out to Chris Ann and ask, you know, if maybe they'd be able to like release the book where you could just get the full guidebook as a companion book to the mass market edition. And she was like saying there was some copyright issue or some reason that they couldn't, which I thought was a super bummer. So that's definitely the deck I would choose for the Counselor, is the Light Seers. My Priestess or High Priestess or Mystic deck is going to be Tarot of Magical Correspondence. This is a deck that I purchased from an indie deck creator on Etsy. He is from Switzerland, Eugene Vinitsky. He has some other decks, including the Money Tarot and the Kabbalistic Tarot. But as far as like a High Priest, when I think High Priestess, I think magic. And when I think magic, I think ritual magic, the Kabbalah. This deck gives so many amazing correspondences. So just for instance, this top card on the deck, we've got the Nine of Cups, which it will tell us is like the herb here, the crystal, quartz crystal. We've got the part of the Sephiroth that it is, which is the number 9, Sephiroth, which is Yesod. It is, I believe it's trying to tell us is maybe the sense of taste here, a turtle. Like each of these things, these are not random like clip art. These are all different like associations. I think it's a little bit easier if we choose like a major arcana card. There is also some writing on the side. This just says the vision of the machinery of the universe. And then it also gives you the astrological associations. So 9 of Cups is Jupiter in Pisces. Okay. Let's try to find a major arcana. Gold gilded. There's the back of the deck. Where are the major arcana? So here's the world. And you've got Yesod into Malkuth. It gives you the Hebrew association, which I believe starts over again with Aleph, but I could be, oh, maybe not. Maybe that's what it is. In the guidebook, it'll tell you like what each flower and herb and like, obviously I need to work with this deck some more. I've got so many decks, you guys. On the number 9 prompt, which is Stranger, I could have chose 100 decks for that because I have so many decks that I don't have time to work with them all, unfortunately. So I will definitely not be purchasing as many, if any, decks in 2022. Okay, so the world, it says Hebrew meaning is Tau. As Egyptian mystic numbers of the Sephiroth, 528, the Tree of Life, path 32, the paths of the Sephir Yetzirah, administrative intelligence, the Queen scale of color, black. So I think that the color that's on the side is what they're talking about. So see how this is black on the side? It says works of medication and death, and we can see here that it's Saturn. I didn't realize that. I didn't know the world was Saturn. Okay, so complete practical attribution of Egyptian gods, living beings, real and imaginary. We can see the animal is the crocodile. Plants, real and imaginary, ash, cypress, hellebore, yew, nightshade, and elm. The precious stone is onyx. Can you see this little tumble onyx stone here? Magical weapons, a sickle, which you can see right there. Vegetable drugs, it's blank. Magical powers, works of malediction and death. Transcendental morality, envy, and then the Greek alphabet. I don't know Greek, but you guys, this deck is really advanced. Like, I am still not even like ready for it, but I want to be, right? I'm on the path. I'm using other tools to get there, but I'm like waiting to be able to like incorporate this deck into some workings. I've mainly been using my angel decks. I've been working with the Shem Hamefaresh angels, the 72, but I'm looking to work up to this one. Here we have the sun. So of course we've got Horus. It's a very good deck. It makes me feel like totally inferior, which for me is actually a good thing because I love a good challenge and I love to dig into things. I remember I did an unboxing of this video. I got this probably about 4 years ago. I deleted the unboxing because somebody actually came on and they were so fucking rude, and they said something that totally triggered me, and they're just like, you're not smart enough for this deck, which they're correct in the sense that, like, yes, I don't necessarily know what I'm talking about with this yet. Sorry, I just turned a video on accident. But smart enough. I mean, anybody's smart enough for anything. You just have to put the work in, right? So that's my High Priestess deck. Okay, number 6, the Elder, which for me is going to be my Brotherhood of the Light Egyptian Tarot decks. These are the same thing, but this is an older copy, and this is the newer one. This you can find on Church of Light, or not, it's not, sorry, not churchoflight.org, it's just light.org. Hold on, let me grab the one that I, sorry, to move all this. Here is the one that I use. If you've watched my videos for any length of time, you've probably heard me talk about this deck. This one I also chose because of the guidebook, which is the Sacred Tarot, again, by the Brotherhood of Light. Again, this is more of a system that I study more than I read with, because it's a little bit of a different, system. The pentacles and the swords are reversed. So pentacles are air and swords are earth. So it does give the astrological association, also the Hebrew. It gives the deacons. So if you are, learning about deacons, this is a good deck for that. It just feels ancient. Maybe because I know about it, and they basically call it the Ancient Egyptian Tarot. I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding whether there are really roots to Egyptian, if the tarot really has Egyptian roots. I'm not here to argue that either way, but this is the deck that I chose for that. This is the older one, very similar, but it's just black and white. But this guidebook is good for either deck. And actually how I stumbled upon this system in the first place, which this organization has now really changed my path. After I found out about this deck through actually a different book that was inspired by this, by a woman named Rebecca Magic. She wrote a book called The Royal Path. And this is actually where I found out about this system. I started following her. She's on YouTube and Facebook, and she is Jewish. So she was raised in the, I think as a Kabbalist. And so she just goes into the major arcana, the Royal Path of the major arcana. And then through her, I found out about the organization. I do think she should give a little bit more credit where credit's due. She never talks about the fact that she took this from this, and she totally did. But whatever. So her book led me to this, which led me to this organization. And this is an amazing organization, light.org. I take all my astrology classes. It's, studying Hermeticism, and it's a similar structure to like maybe joining the Masons or some other group where there's like a system, right? Like you go up, and I think it is 33 degrees, like the initial. And then once you get to that, there's like a higher order, which is called I think it's called the Higher Order of the Phoenix. I'm pretty sure. Which, I hope to be able to get to at some point. I am on level number 7, taking my test to move to level 8 next month, I think. Actually, it should be this week. You can do one class per moon cycle, which is actually pretty fast, because they're really like in depth. But because I basically do this full time, I'm just at home in my office, just reading and studying basically all day, every day. Maybe I might be moving a little bit more faster than maybe some other people might be able to, if you had like a 9-to-5 job or something, or you had small kids that you still had to take care of. So anyways, so then the next prompt is the Teacher, which for me is going to be like really any Thoth based deck. Again, I don't read with them as much, but I do study them. So here's like the OG Thoth. And next to it is the Spirit. You guys, my brain's not working today. The Spirit. Like the people that do patch tarot that have been on YouTube forever. Spirit Science. This is the Spirit Science deck. I love it. It's called the Patch Tarot. It is a Thoth system. So I, again, chose both of these for the books, which for this, of course, you can go with the old traditional Book of Thoth. But this is really challenging and really advanced. So if you want to study Thoth, I actually recommend going with Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot by Lon Milo Duquette. This book has been much more palatable, right? Like you can see how much further I've gotten into this book. This book, I've maybe made it to like, I don't even know, not very far. So anyway, I'm still totally reading both, and rarely do I pick up a book and just read it cover to cover. But so those are what I'm studying for this. But then the Patch Tarot came with its own book, which I love. It's kind of, you know, a little bit more on the pricier side of things. But this is the Patch Tarot deck. Like, look how thick this bad boy is, you guys. It's huge. So if you're wanting to learn Thoth, but you've been intimidated, I would totally recommend the Patch Tarot. So a lot of Thoth readers do not read reversals, and I am one of those readers that I just have to read reversals. So that's another reason why I actually like this, the Patch Tarot better. And on the cards, it does give you like a reverse and an upright meaning. So here we have the Six of Wands, which of course is victory. But if it's in reverse, it's pride. So it also gives the astrological associations. We've got Mars and Leo here. So it's really amazing. It's a little bit less intimidating because of the patch people versus like the original Thoth, which can be very, you know, intimidating. It just, you know. So yeah, those are the decks that I chose for, and the books that I chose for the teacher, because I feel like these decks have a lot, these decks and these books and these systems have a lot to teach me for sure. The next one, which is the Outsider, I did not choose this one for the book, but I chose it because it's the only deck that I have of this style, which I recently accrued this deck, which is called the Kabbalistic Tarot. And it's actually a Marseille deck, which I have. This is like the only deck that I have that's a Marseille. Is that how you say it? Probably not even saying it right. So you can see here it gives you also the Tree of Life, the Sephira, the Hebrew Association, the planet, and so yeah, it's my Outsider because I had never worked with a pip deck before. So thank you to my friend in the Netherlands who sent me this deck. I was so lucky to have received this deck. I had no idea that I guess it's very rare and very expensive. And she had an extra copy of it and just wanted it to get to somebody who would appreciate it. And so she sent it to me. And then when I found out like how rare and expensive it is, of course, I wanted her to be even more compensated. And so I sent her some other out of print and rare decks as well, which she probably hasn't received because it takes like a month for everything to get there, but hopefully she will be receiving them soon. Okay, number 9, the Stranger. I mean, honestly, there are so many decks I could choose. I actually didn't even grab one. I'm just going to do a general for this, which is like, you guys, I need to be working with more of my decks. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to go to number 10, the Comedian. I agree what Carla had said, which is the Housewife Tarot. I actually have that deck, and it is a total smartass, and I love it. But I went with the Golden Girls just because I just love the Golden Girls. And I just think this deck is so charming. I have a few that I could have chosen for the Comedian. I have like the Garbage Pail Tarot and the Gummy Bear Tarot. So I could have chose them, but I chose the Golden Girls. And after Betty White died, this deck became like very hard to get your hands on. So I think it's back in stock now. I'm not really sure. And then I wanted to do a deck for the Black Sheep. And there were a few I could choose for that as well. I'm trying to decide. I kind of think it's my Thoth decks. Like, I really kind of do think that my Black Sheep deck would be the Thoth. So yeah. I don't know if I liked filming this way. I think it's going to be a good view for you guys up above, but it makes me feel very disconnected. I'm somebody that when I film, I typically like to be able to see what's going on through the lens, and for some reason that makes me feel more connected to you guys. And in this way, because I can't see anything that's going on, I felt very disconnected in this video. So even though it might be aesthetically pleasing, I don't know if I'm going to film like this anymore, because I feel like very, like, you know, off. So anyway, yeah, this was a fun tag. Thanks for Boho Tarot for creating it, and Carla for doing it, because that's where I seen it. And I'm sure so many of you are going to be doing it, so I will be watching all of yours. If you have done this and I'm not following you or I haven't seen yours, leave a comment and let me know that you've done this tag as well, and I'll make sure to go over to your channel and give it a view and watch it. So hopefully you guys have a good weekend, and we'll see you the next time.